Good evening, future Maryland home buyers. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Jackie Muick. I'm the Advocacy and Communications Administrator for Maryland Realtors. I want to welcome you to the Your Home Buying Keys webinar. Assembled with us tonight, we have experts in the industry, including Spencer Bangert, a lender with Fidelity Direct Mortgage, Jim Hall from Freddie Mac, and Catherine Kramer Dale from Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development, also known as DHCD. Unfortunately, our realtor member may be running into a bit of an emergency tonight and might not be able to join us, but we'll do our best to keep the show going without her. Tonight, we will get an abundance of information to help you navigate and succeed in your home buying journey. This webinar will be recorded and sent out to all attendees after the conclusion of the webinar. So please feel free to take notes, but don't feel like you have to catch every snippet of golden nuggets of home buying on the way. We encourage your questions and we look forward to answering them. Please post all questions in the Q&A box below at the bottom of your screen. And with that, I'll turn it over to our lender, Spencer.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Appreciate you having me here this evening. Thanks everyone for attending. We're going to go over lots of great information about buying a home here in our wonderful state of Maryland. As we're going through, really going to do this, as Jackie mentioned, it's going to be recorded. So please obviously take notes. We will have a Q&A at the end, so ask questions. Questions are good, right? We don't expect you to be an expert at anything here. All right. And Jackie, are you presenting the slideshow with the deck?
I can if you need me to, but I thought you were going to. I'm totally
Oh,
able to
I'm so
though.
sorry. My apologies. I thought
No, you're
that's why
good.
I sent it
You're
over to
good.
you. No worries. Got it right here. It is not letting me share my screen. I do not know why.
Oh no. All right, hold on one moment. One moment. I'll just get it up. Apologies for the delay, everyone. All right, open it up on my end and then I'll share my screen and I'll take it from there for you, Spencer.
Cool. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Sorry, everybody. We were trying to find a replacement to our realtor or find out what happened. Hopefully they're okay and got a little distracted. Share.
There we go. All right. Should be good.
Yes, there we go. So that is I, Spencer Bangert. I'm with Fidelity Direct Mortgage. We're a locally owned and operated mortgage lender based out of Gaithersburg, Maryland. I've been with the company for actually more than almost a decade now. And as you can see from my wonderful photo, I have slightly aged being in the mortgage industry. One of the company trainers here, as well as one of the managers here overseeing a team and running my own loans over the last about 11 years. So great local lender at a mid-cap independent. You go to the next slide for me. Thank you. So really the question is, what makes a good lender, right? Why should you choose any particular lender, whatever that advantage to them may be? And just as a really kind of an overview of what you want to look for, right? Can you believe what they're saying, right? Are they transparent with what they're telling you, right? Are the fees, the rates, terms, is everything clear for what you're getting, right? Not just, hey, what's the rate, but also do you understand the payment, the cash to close, things like that, right? Are they competitive on rate and on price? Rate is just that, right? 6.875, 7.25, whatever that may be. Price is what the costs are, what fees they may have, right? Are they competitive? Is this a good deal for you? Can you afford it, right? Now, our goal is sustainable homeownership, right? Making sure that the loan you're getting, you can afford it on paper, of course, based on the guidelines from the program, from Maryland Mortgage Program, FHLC, Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, whatever that may be. But also, does this work for you and your family at the kitchen table? Making sure that this is a deal that actually works for you, right? And finding someone that's trusted in your community. Local license, obviously ethical and well reviewed. A good company that you can actually trust. Hey, when you're doing this, you understand what's going on, you believe them. I love it when my clients like me. That's awesome. I absolutely have to have them trust me, right? Flexible options. No, it's not just one size fits all. Mortgages, every mortgage is unique. Every loan's unique. Every scenario is unique. Everyone's in a different situation, right? And last, again, in that same spirit of things, are you understanding what you're walking into? Do you understand the loan product? Do you understand the terms, the payments, things like that? Right? Making sure you're understanding what's going on, as well as making sure you're understanding the process itself. This is where you're going to live. It can be a stressful process. We try to mitigate that as much as possible. So making sure that the lender you've selected is clear in their communication. They pick up the phone, they respond to your emails or texts, whatever that may be. Just making sure you've got good communication with them. Those are really the six salient points, things you want to make sure you've got. Okay. Now, all this is to get a mortgage. So there's a process to that. It's really broken down into four pieces. Origination, which is the front end. That's where I come in, right? As a mortgage loan originator, right? Building the loan, putting the file together, getting the documentation, making sure that what we're walking into, the numbers, all these things are in line with your goals, right? Processing. Once we actually have a contract for our sale, you found the home with your agent, that's when we actually put the file into processing, verifying things like your employment, ordering the appraisal, ordering title work, things like that. We then put that all together and give it to the underwriter. The underwriters are not the bad guys. They are our friends. They are our colleagues. We love our underwriters. They're real people also living here. And their goal is to make sure that the loan meets the guidelines. That's it. Does this loan make sense? Is this something that we think is a good investment? Are we creating sustainable home ownership within those guidelines? Okay. And last, post closing, that's the fun part where you get to make your payment for 30 years. Everyone loves that part. But in all seriousness, post closing very rarely comes up, but that is that part of that loan. Okay. Thank you. Now, all of this is to get a mortgage, right? It's all based on really three things. This is what it comes down to: income, assets, and credit. We're going to dive into each one of these. So for income, thank you. So income, where you work, what you do, how much you make. It really just shows your ability to repay the loan. How are you going to make the monthly mortgage payments, right? Making sure that, again, on paper, that this works, as well as at the kitchen table. Those are not the same thing, right? Qualifiable income versus take-home pay, right? Those are different numbers. Side business we maybe can't use. A cash business we maybe can't use versus what's on paper. But we have to be able to document that income. Assets, again, it's just that, whatever's in the bank, right? Checking, savings, retirement accounts, whatever that may be. And that's to show two things: down payment and reserves if required. Not all loans require those things, right? And last is credit, right? Credit score obviously is important. A 620 versus a 640 versus 680 versus 720, whatever that may be. There's more to credit than just that number, though. Okay. And there's a lot of half truths about credit scores. What we would look at is a FICO model, not a Vantage model. The one on your app on your phone, that's typically a Vantage model. We're going to use a FICO model. That's the standard in the mortgage industry. We'll take that mid score, and that gives us our number, right? And then we look at all of the individual trade lines, the things that make up the credit report. That way we can guide you on things that can be successful strategies in the future, right? Addressing old items, collections, late payments, high credit card usage, things like that. So just walking you through that to make sure that the report and the scores are in line with that program's guidelines. Thank you. Now, all of this, we love our clients, we trust our clients, but we do have to document everything. And it's really just straightforward stuff. Credit, and that's really you, right? Your identification, proving that you are in fact you, right? You want to make sure I am who I am. We do too, especially if we're going to lend you $400,000 as an example. Income, again, what we can document on paper, that income. The most recent 30 days pay stubs, last couple of years of W-2s, and final pay stubs for the last 2 years. For those of you who are self-employed, we're looking at tax returns for the last 2 years, right? Business and personal, typically a year-to-date profit and loss statement as well. And then assets, just the most recent 2 months bank statements and retirement accounts. Those are typically quarterly. This is not a one-size-fits-all list. It's a great starting point. And all of this is to get the house. We are also looking at things for the house. Just as much as we're documenting 3 pillars for yourself, we're going to document 3 pillars for the home. Number one is the valuation, right? You're buying this $400,000 house. Well, we want to make sure that that house is worth what we're lending you. Okay. So it's really a pretty quick process. The appraiser goes out there, they determine value. It's arm's length. We don't select the appraiser. We don't have any direct contact with the appraiser, but they go to the home. You don't need to be there, by the way. They mostly are there to make sure the property's there, that it meets the minimum standards for that particular program, Fannie, Freddie, FHA's program, whatever that may be, and make sure the value is there. Most of their work is in the office. Okay. Again, you can rest assured knowing that it's a fair, uninfluenced valuation. Title work, making sure that you are buying a home that from someone who legally owns it, right? Making sure that the person selling that house has legal authority to do it, has legal ownership, and they also do the same for you. That title company is going to make sure that at the end of the day, that deed you've recorded is in public record and it is your home. Okay? And last is homeowners insurance. This is not mortgage insurance, that's a different thing. Homeowners insurance, think more like State Farm, Geico, Allstate, so on and so forth, right? There's 100 commercials on. If you turn it on the radio, you'll hear about 5 insurance commercials. Pick one of those guys. It's anyone you want to use. Just making sure that the house has insurance. So if there is a loss, you're not having a mortgage on a pile of ash, right? In case of worst case. Okay. So you have to have homeowners insurance, but those 3 things are what we're going to be documenting for the actual home itself. Thank you. One of the big challenges or most clients run into is cash to close, right? Fortunately, there are lots of down payment assistance or DPAs for short. We're going to touch on some of these a little bit more, the Maryland Mortgage Program specifically, when we get to that section. There's other options as well. There's the Federal Home Loan Bank of Atlanta. The Atlanta office covers our geography here. I know we're not in Atlanta, but there's local county and county and city programs as well. All of these DPAs have their own rules, their own guidelines, as we would call them. Not every program works for everyone. Using the Anne Arundel County program, for example, ACDS, it's a great program. ACDS dollars are not going out of county. You're not going to use ACDS in Prince George or in Kent Island or whatever that may be. Maryland Mortgage Program is fortunately statewide, so is the federal program. Now, all of these will cover down payment, and some of them a little bit more. Typically, though, to get 100% financing, you're actually still having those extra costs, closing costs for the title work, right? Paying your homeowner's insurance, transfer taxes, which is essentially sales tax on real estate. So usually you're looking for anywhere from 3 to 6% in seller concessions, money that the seller pays out of their pocket, out of the net, what they're getting from the sale of their home, to pay those costs for you. And if your agent can negotiate that for you, you can actually end up bringing nothing to the table. So if you ever go on social media, you see someone saying, I got a check for $1,000 back when I bought my home. They got some of their earnest money deposit back. It happens quite frequently, not all the time, right? It depends on what the seller's situation is. If they have the funds and if they're in a position to actually give them. If you have 5 offers, they're going to take the strongest. That may mean they're getting more money, which may mean the one asking for help is not going to get accepted. But again, every individual circumstance is different. And that's where a professional real estate agent comes in to help negotiate that contract, find the right house at the right price with the right terms, including timing and down payment assistance, if the seller accepting that, condition of the property, and concessions. And there are down payment assistance programs that are outside of that public sphere. Right. A lot of times when people come into challenges with it, it's because they're missing some of the marks. They're not a first-time home buyer. They're looking for a home above those county loan limits, particular for the program, or they're making too much money. Again, all those programs have their own rules. A lot of them have their own restrictions. Making too much money, right? Buying too much house, too high of a debt to income ratio, or the score is too low. Things like that. So there are other options out there as well. Working with the local professional lender, they will tailor that program directly for you. So you're getting the right program with the right product, with the FHA loan, with the down payment assistance program, whatever that may be, or Freddie Mac loan, whatever the product is. So those are all the options out there. That's what we'd like to cover here as the lender. And again, I think the last slide is really just giving you my contact information. Anyone, please feel free to reach out directly. Some do's and don'ts, but feel free to call me directly or email me. I'm here to help. Again, there are no bad questions. There's no stupid questions. We're here to help.
Thank you so much, Spencer. And please, again, anyone who has a question, please put it down in the Q&A box below. Spencer, we did actually already have a question come in for you. One person asked if
Love it.
self-employed income is judged harsher than regular employed income.
Great question. No, it has a different documentation level, but it is not considered a as a part of the total scorecard, which is the underwriting. Usually, some products do consider that, but typically, self-employed, if you're making 100 grand self-employed, you're making 100 grand with a salary, it's fine, but it is different documentation because obviously we need to verify that with tax returns, the profit and loss, things like that. Great question.
Wonderful, thank you. And another question, what would you recommend to help a buyer boost their credit score? Say they're worried about trying to make a program or something that has a limit for the minimum. How would you
Yeah,
recommend they start on that?
100%. So the advice we always give is the longer the runway, the more likely you are to succeed, right? So talking with a local lender, even if you're thinking about buying a house in a year or two, talking with a local lender now so you can have that full individualized, tailored advice. In general, this is very generalized advice, not applicable for everyone. On time every time, right? Everything on time every time. Deal with any old things, collections, charge-offs, things like that, and keep credit card balances low if at all possible. 20% is great, less than 50% is less great. Make sure it's never maxed out, right? Again, that's very general advice. Always try to talk to an individual lender or a local lender to have an individual plan to build out how we're going to get to that 640, 680, 720, whatever it may be.
Awesome. And also another question that we've had
I
before
love it. Let's keep it going.
is yes, sorry, last question and then we'll keep going. Can you talk a little bit about buying down your interest rate? That's something that I know with interest rates today that a lot of first-time home buyers are interested in learning more about.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna keep it going. Like keep the Q&A going. I love it. Love the engagement. So buying the rate down. Not all programs have that as an option, right? Some do. Sometimes it's a permanent buy down. Sometimes it's a temporary buy down, right? So you can pay what's called points, which is just shorthand for discount points or discounted percentage of the loan to get a lower rate. Everyone just calls it points or discount points. It's shorthand and you're bringing money to the table. So as an example, and everyday pricing and rates change, but as an example, instead of a 7% with no points, you could get a 6.5 with 1 point. So you're paying 1 percentage point of the loan. Let's say it's a $200,000 loan. You're bringing $2,000 extra to the table to get a half a point off on your interest rate, right? If that math is going to make sense, that's individualized. How long are you going to be in the home? Do you have the 2 grand? Is the seller paying? Were we able to negotiate enough seller credit to pay that? It really does depend on the individual circumstance, but that's how that permanent buy down works. A temporary buy down, you're seeing that a lot right now. It's a short-term reduction in rate. You still qualify for the full rate. So for example, at that 7%, if you do a 1.0 buy down, your first year's payment is effectively if you were at 6%, and then it moves up. It helps people kind of ease into the home, but it is a temporary solution, not a permanent one.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Spencer. If you
Boy,
have more questions and if Spencer you're able to hang around till the end, there will be a longer Q&A for anyone. So if you realize like in 10 minutes that actually you did have another question, that would be wonderful. Like please feel free to put it in. Unfortunately, our realtor member does not seem like she's going to be able to make it tonight. So really quick, Jim, before we go to you, I wanted to spend a little bit of time just going over the process of how to buy a home. Disclaimer, I am not a practicing realtor. But I am someone who has recently bought a home, and I am someone who has 8 years of experience in the real estate industry, in addition to my time at Maryland Realtors. So hopefully I can answer at least some of your questions. But if there's something that comes up that I can't answer or fellow panelists cannot answer, please talk to your local realtor or your at least licensee. They are experts in this field. They do this every day. They know your local markets, and they're going to be able to give you some really great insight and some really great advice. And hopefully a lot of guidance along your journey. So, real quick, we're going to go ahead and just really fast, we're going to look at our from our homebuyer toolkit, which if you have not already checked out, I'm biased, I'm aware, but it is a really great resource for first-time home buyers to be able to look at what to expect when buying a home. So this is page 4 of our toolkit. It is just 10 steps of how to buy a home. 10 steps for making it as simple as possible. Step 1 is save your down payment. It is one of the hardest steps to be able to get that down payment together. But please note, you don't need 20% for your down payment. There are programs out there that first-time home buyers qualify for that can get as little as 3% down. As a first-time home buyer last year, that's a program that worked for me and helped me get into my home. Your credit, it is so important. Your second step to make sure that you know what your credit score is, you understand how to improve it if you need to, and you understand how it can work from there. Step 3, we highly recommend taking a home buyer education course, but Jim's going to talk about that more in a second. And then step 4 is find a realtor or another licensee you trust. Using a realtor is one of the best investments that you can make in one of the biggest financial decisions you're going to make. Buying a home is not cheap, and everyone knows that. Using a realtor to help give you guidance both on local and state laws, and on where your money is going to be best used, whether it's on negotiating an offer or what to look for during your home inspection. I'm getting ahead of myself right now. I can see it. But these are all things that a realtor is able to give you advice on and guide you through. And even as someone who has had 8 years in the real estate industry, like that amount of experience, having a realtor by my side was for me, wonderful and super helpful. Step 5 is getting pre-approved for a mortgage. That's when you talk to someone like Spencer. You talk to a lender who you trust, whether it's someone that you've worked with before, someone that your family knows, someone that your realtor has worked with a lot, to talk to them about how you get pre-approved, making sure that you know you're buying something within your price range and that it'll work for you. Step 6 is the fun part. Step 6 is the go shopping. You get to go look at homes, you get to figure out what you want, what you need, where you're going to be, and you're going to work really closely with your realtor on that to make sure that you're finding a home that's going to fit your needs and your budget. Step 7 is making an offer. This was one of the most stressful parts, personally, because negotiating is hard. But determining the best offer on a home will vary greatly depending on your market, depending on the seller, and depending on the location, because different inspections will be involved. Whether it's a buyer or seller market, you might be able to ask for more, or you might have to try to make your offer more competitive. Your realtor and the people behind you are going to be able to help you with that. Getting an inspection. It is not required by state law to get a home inspection. However, it is always a good idea. You want to get a better idea of what home you're buying and what problems might be lying down the road for it before you put down a whole bunch of money, right? Getting an inspection is a good idea. Some buyers in very competitive markets choose to forego one before they buy the home to try to make their offer more competitive. And that is something that you have the right to be able to do, but it might not be the best choice in the long run. And remember, you can also always get a home inspection after you buy. It's just now you already own the home. Closing the sale is step 9. That is when all of your inspections are done. You've already, after the inspection, I skipped that. You get to, if you are able to negotiate repairs with the seller, to try to see if the seller might be able to fix something that was found in the inspection, or if it will be your responsibility once you buy the home. So closing the sale is after any of those repairs are done that were negotiated, the inspections are all done. The title company has a closing scheduled where you come to the table, you sign a whole bunch of papers, and you walk away with the keys to your new home. And the last step is you get to move in, which is also hard, but a little bit fun sometimes when you have good friends. Shanetta, I'm so sorry. I did not realize you were here. I just ran through the 10 steps, and we have a little bit of time if you would like to, if you're able.
Well, certainly,
You are
Jackie.
more
First,
than
can you
welcome to
hear
have the
me?
floor. Yes, I
Awesome. Can
can.
you? Okay, beautiful, because that was the first thing. So technical difficulties have been rather interesting. So good evening, everybody. Jackie, you did amazing. I felt like you were actually just, you were on the ball. So I don't want to interrupt the flow. You covered so much. Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Shanetta Malkia. I'm the CEO and broker for Sable Edge Realty, and I'm excited to be with you all this evening. Jackie has covered quite a bit in regard to the sales process and the different steps that go into actually looking for your new home, purchasing your new home. So congratulations on taking the opportunity to learn more about the different processes and working with a realtor. So finding your realtor is going to be one of the key and important items. And that's what Maryland Realtors helps you with, having all of the different realtors listed on their website and totally different resources available for you on the marylandhomeownership.com website as well. If you have not visited, I'm sure you've heard it and you'll hear it some more tonight. Please visit it today. But one of the first steps I want to make sure is that you have a great connection with your realtor, making sure they understand your needs, make sure they understand the process to walk you through it, making sure they understand the different programs, making sure they understand the market and the neighborhood that you're considering. So when you're working with a realtor, you're going to interview them just like you would go on a job interview. You want to make sure you find the perfect salesperson that's going to work with you and your family. They're not going to try to oversell you. We're going to be realistic. You want to have some goals. As Jackie mentioned to you, knowing what's on your credit report. How many of you have already started looking at your credit report? Are you getting that credit report each and every year? You'll hear a little bit about that, I'm sure, as we talk about the next step is after you meet your realtor, you're working with your realtor. They may refer you to a loan officer, or you may already have a loan officer, or you may be working with a loan officer at your actual bank that you bank with on a regular basis. So making sure that they can connect you and that you all connect and understand what your goals are, what your time frame is, and then also making sure that you set realistic expectations. Those are some of the key things I would say that are going to be very important in identifying your salesperson, your realtor, your broker that you're going to be working with. The second item is when you're going out, and yes, Jackie said that inspections are not required, but I'm going to tell you this. Think about the last time you bought a car. Anybody ever bought a lemon? If you do not do an inspection on your car when you go buy that car, you may drive it for a couple of months and then find out, oh my goodness, all these things are going wrong. And they give you a limited warranty. So when you're not doing your home inspection, you're doing yourself a disservice. I tell my clients all the time because we want to know what's underneath the prettiness, right? We want to know about the mechanical systems. What are you going to have to invest in a few years? Is your HVAC system working well? How is the plumbing? Does it have termites? All of these different things that you need to know when you're investing into your first home, because it's not just about purchasing the home, but it's about keeping the home and being able to maintain the home. So those are the things that I would definitely make sure that you consider. Those are my two priorities and speaking to anybody, making sure you genuinely connect with your salesperson, and then also making sure you take advantage of those inspections. Because when you're dealing with those inspections, you have your realtor that's going to be speaking to the owner that's selling their property to you to make sure that they're negotiating and working on your best behalf. And the only way for us to do that is to make sure that you are properly informed and educated on every prospect and every aspect as to what could happen. So we do a home inspection. You want to make sure that you're going to pay for that separately. You're going to pay that home inspector. And there are some great resources. We typically would like to give you 3 recommendations, but on the Maryland Realtors website, there's also a list for the home inspectors in the state of Maryland that are approved, that are licensed. I'm going to say that again, licensed home inspectors. We're not going to go grab the gentleman from the Home Depot in the parking lot and have him to come inspect the home. No, we want to make sure that they really understand they are again licensed and they understand code and understand can give you the details you need to make an appropriate and educated decision in purchasing your first home and even your second home. So those are some of the things that I would point out for you. I would also say give yourself some grace and some time. So if you know that you're considering purchasing a home in the next 6 months, I'm going to say give yourself a year to start prepping in advance. So looking at that credit report, are there things that we need to clean up? Are there things that you there should not be there that you didn't know were there? A loan officer is going to be the one that's going to be able to tell you if you're ready to purchase today, and if you're not ready to purchase today, what it takes for you to be able to purchase. So those are some of the things that are going to be rather important. And then, of course, that checklist. So now you're going out and you're looking at the homes because you have now work with your realtor. You've identified your realtor. You work with your loan officer. They told you how much you qualify for. They told you if you're ready or you have to get ready and what you need to do and what that time frame looks like. But when you actually have that approval from your loan officer saying, hey, this is what you're qualified for on paper, and this is what we're going to look at. And so we want to make sure that you understand that when you're purchasing your home and you're looking at properties, you're going to see tons of properties. But I want you to make sure you give yourself a cushion. So if you have a $600,000 limit for your home, we may want to look at homes that are around 475, 500, no more than 550 to give yourself that wiggle room. Just because you never know what comes about. And then you also want to make sure that, again, after you purchase the home, with all of the great programs for down payment assistance and for closing assistance, that you're still able to maintain that mortgage comfortably, because now you're not just responsible for the mortgage, but you have real estate taxes. You also have maintenance and repairs that you have to make sure that you maintain. And those are the things that are very important that I feel sometimes are left out in the education component. But I like to make sure that you're aware, very much realistic in this process, because this is going to be one of the greatest investments in your life. You hear me? In your life, your entire life, this is going to be one of the greatest investments. It's going to be a great feeling when you go through it. It does not have to be stressful. You hear some of the horror stories, or, oh my goodness, I was stressed out. They kept asking me for documentation. I'm going to tell you in advance, yes, it's a lot of paperwork. I want you to get ready. It's a lot of paperwork, but what I want you to remember about that is staying organized and working with your realtor is going to keep you on track. Your loan officer is going to keep you on track. If you are preparing a year in advance, then you know that you're going to need those pay stubs. You're going to know you're going to need those bank statements. You're going to know what you're working with your loan officer, what you may need to pay off, what you need to clean up. And don't just jump about it and do it yourself, because sometimes, and I did it, I was trying to pay off things that I didn't need to pay off to actually qualify for the home. So get the help. Take the programs, take the classes, and then always remember MarylandHomeOwnership.com, because there are amazing resources that Jackie just talked to you about. And you're going to hear some other amazing options for you in regard to helping you with your down payment assistance and also your closing costs. Jackie, I know we're very much limited on time. I just wanted to make sure you covered so much beautifully. I was sitting here like, I love this. I love this. And so, yes, if there's any more time, any questions I can answer, anything specific, I gladly take those questions. And I'm happy to be here with you all this evening.
Wonderful, wonderful. All right. I do actually have one question for you, Shanetta, because one of the things that I think you might have great insight on is how do people find a realtor that works for them? What should they be looking for to kind of find someone that they can trust when working through that big financial decision?
Yeah. So it's like you're going on a dating experience, right? You're dating. So you're dating and you're courting and you're talking to everybody, and your realtors are going to go to court you. One of the things that I want you to think about is, one, the experience of that realtor. How long have they been, in the industry? How long have they worked in that particular market? How well do they know the market that you're interested in purchasing it? Are they giving you realistic opportunities in regard to what you qualify for and what they're showing you? I know a lot of people say, well, Jeanette, I know they're only qualified for this, but I show them this. And then I have the loan officers tell them, well, only for $50,000 more, your mortgage is only going to be about this much more. And that works for some people. But I also like to make sure that I am respectful of what you tell me up front, because we're going to have that Q&A time. I want to know what you're looking for. The realtor should be asking you what your goals are, what type of home you're looking for, what are the essentials, what are the necessary needs, and what are the wants. What are the compromises that you may be able to live without? So, for instance, I had a client that she needed a 4-bedroom home. She needed a basement. She wanted a walkout patio. She wanted a garage. And she also wanted to make sure it had electricity because she was going to get an electric car. So we found everything that she wanted. But like one of some things that we did not find in all of the things that she wanted was the walkout with the garage. And so we have to make sure that you have to decide, is that a deal breaker? And only the person that can decide that for you is you. I don't want you to ever be pressured to rush and put in an offer. I don't want you to ever be pressured into not doing inspections. I want you to ask your realtor, what does it look like if I don't do an inspection? If they tell you don't do an inspection. During COVID, people were not doing inspections because houses were literally here and today, and in 2 minutes they might be gone. We're not in that market right now, but there's still great opportunities. So I want you to make sure that your realtor is responsive. Are they checking their emails? Are they calling you back? Do they give you the time? Making sure that they're respectful of your time. Are they arriving on appointments on time? Are they making sure that they educate you? If you have another question after you just had a conversation, can you rely on them to give you that detailed information? Because this is not just to get you through your first purchase, but it's to help you along the way. As you're going on, this may be your first beginner home, and then you're going to find your forever home later. But I want you to make sure that you understand as much as possible about your realtor. What do they enjoy doing? What do you all have in common? And then making sure that, again, it's the education. That's the biggest part for me. Making sure that they are educated so they can properly educate you in making the biggest decision of your life.
Thank you so much, Shanetta. I know we have at least one more question already saved up, but we're gonna let the other presentations go, and then we'll save them for the bigger Q&A at the very end. So,
That sounds
Jim,
like a
I'm gonna
plan.
pass it off to you.
All right. Well, thank you, Jackie, and thank you everyone for joining us tonight. You got some great information from Jackie, Spencer, and Shanetta. It's very valuable, and I know your time is valuable, and but I think you'll walk away from this tonight saying, okay, I made a great investment. So I'm Jim Hall. I'm with Freddie Mac. Now, Freddie Mac is a government-sponsored enterprise, a GSE. We were created and chartered by Congress 55 years ago in 1970. So I can assure you there's no person named Freddie Mac. There's no Scottish guy named Frederick Macmillan who was running our organization. We're headquartered in McLean, Virginia, and we are a mortgage company, but I'm not in competition with Spencer and his company. We do not lend directly to the public. We're in the secondary mortgage market. So what we do, we create mortgage programs for Spencer to use and to present to you. And also my friend and colleague, Catherine Kramer Dale at the Maryland Mortgage Program. We provide a program for her organization called HFA Advantage, which is a 3% down program. Um, Everybody that has spoken tonight has alluded to low down payment options. So that's Freddie Mac's low down payment option. So Catherine will go into more detail, during her presentation. So there's no need for me to, duplicate that information. And because we're limited on time here, I won't go deep into that. So what we do is we provide liquidity in the marketplace. So mortgage companies like Spencer's and housing finance agencies like Catherine's, they sell their loans to us. And then we purchase them and then we put them into larger investments on Wall Street in the investment pools. So again, I'm not in competition with Spencer here, so you wouldn't come directly to me to get the mortgage. But we do provide resources and tools for you, the consumer. And one of the major pillars here at Freddie Mac is education. Now, Shanetta was just saying how important it is for you to be educated. And I agree with that 100%. It's really, really important for you to know what you're getting involved with, to understand the home buying process, to understand the mortgage application process. And here at Freddie Mac, we've created a financial literacy tool for you called Credit Smart. And I'm going to share my screen now so you can see it. Okay. Jackie, if you can just let me know if it's up on the screen.
Yep, well, you can see it.
All right, fantastic. And this is a free tool for you. So you don't have to pay for this. So you walk away tonight and you have something that is really invaluable, because what it's going to do, it's going to guide you through that realtor process of, working with a realtor and buying a home, and the mortgage application process and working with Spencer and then getting that mortgage approved and closed. So like Jackie said, you'll be getting a copy of these slides. The Credit Smart web address is on the bottom right-hand corner of slide number 1. So you'll be able to go on and take a look at it. It's been around for over 20 years. It's very interactive. We did a major overhaul to it within the last 2 years. to make it, very attractive, and it's, it gives you a lot of opportunities, but it also has a pause and resume functions. So it's not something that you need to do all in one sitting. Go to the next slide here. And what we did, we broke it into two sections, the financial capability side and the homeownership education side. So on the financial capabilities side, you have the essentials, and that will help you go through your whole homeownership journey. And the home buyer use side, that is for the immediate process. So again, you can set up your own dashboard, you can personalize it. It allows you to track your progress. You can earn badges. You have a notebook. You can set goals. So again, it's very up to date. It allows you to, be very interactive. There's videos on it, and there's resources that are downloadable. So again, please check it out after this webinar. I think it will really help you out. So the essentials part, like I said, this is the section to where you keep through your whole homeownership journey. And there's 5 different sections that they have multiple modules. So it helps you to set goals, which are very, very important. Understand the importance of earning and tracking your income and then how you spend it. So again, budgeting is very, very important because, not only do you get a mortgage payment, but there's so much more to it. You turn that key, you walk in, and there you have to furnish the home. You have to, buy the essentials. You have to buy things for the yard and then maintain all those items. So again, it's really, really important to understand how to budget, and then also understanding your credit, maintaining your credit score, how to eliminate debt, and that will help you in the long run. And also, Credit Smart will help you understanding the importance of savings. Now, I can speak from a personal experience. My wife and I, we bought our first house in 1990, and my dad was telling me, Jim, you need a rainy day fund because you're going to be a homeowner. And I didn't know what he was talking about. I was like, Dad, what's a rainy day fund? And he goes, well, an emergency can come up and you're going to need some quick cash to take care of whatever that emergency is. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. And then like 2 years into our home ownership journey, my wife and I, we came home one night, and our basement was about 80% renovated, and we had carpet down there, and our water heater went and flooded the basement. We had a mess on our hands. So I did listen to Dad. I had that quick cash. I was able to, clean up the mess, and that's just an example of what can happen when you're a homeowner. And again, preparing and protecting that asset, because it's exciting to work with Shanetta and buy that house, and it's exciting to work with Spencer and get that mortgage and get it closed. But we want you to understand the importance of making that monthly payment, because by doing that, you're going to gain equity in that property, and you're going to gain wealth. And hopefully you'll be able to pass that wealth down through your generations. So, again, prepare and protect that asset at all costs. And now the home buyer you section, that is for the immediate part. That's when you're working with Shanetta and Spencer. This is only 6 modules and shouldn't take you more than 2 to 3 hours to complete. Once you do, you have to pass a test at the end. That's 80% or higher you have to achieve. And when you do that, you get a completion certificate diploma, which is good for 1 year. And it meets national industry standards. And if I'm, your loan originator and you took my advice and you went through Credit Smart, and I get notified that you passed the test, I know it's go time. I got to get that application approved for you and get you to the closing table. And again, this is free for you. It's, it doesn't cost anything. I can tell, a personal story. My son and his wife, they bought a house here in Cherry Hill, New Jersey 2 years ago. They took my advice and went through Credit Smart, and they thought it was great because they gained a lot of knowledge through it. And like everyone that has spoke to you tonight, we said education is key. So again, please take advantage of this. It doesn't cost you anything. It's really valuable time that you'll invest, and I think you'll get a lot out of it. So with that, I am done, Jackie.
Thank you so much, Jim. Please, any questions for any of our presenters so far tonight, put in the Q&A box. We're going to let our last presenter go, Catherine. The floor is yours.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Catherine Kramer Dale. I am with the State of Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development. And our state agency offers several programs for people who are homeowners, so definitely spread the news. But today we're here to talk about how you can achieve the American dream of owning a home in the state of Maryland. I'm going to share my screen. And let's go here and share. So the first thing I want to tell you is we're a state agency and we do not lend directly to the borrower. You actually go to one of our approved lenders to apply for the Maryland Mortgage Program. And we have Spencer on the call, who is one of our top performing lenders. So there you go, right? What happens is you go to Spencer, one of our approved Maryland Mortgage Program lenders, and you let them know that you're interested in purchasing a home. And when you use the Maryland Mortgage Program, this home has to be the use of a primary residence. We don't do any loans at the Maryland Mortgage Program that would be for you to rent out or to use for a second home. It's to purchase your primary residence. You also cannot be on a deed or have any interest in any property anywhere in the world at the time of this closing. When you reach out to Spencer or the approved lender with the Maryland Mortgage Program, you're going to let them know that you're interested in purchasing. And Spencer shared with you all of the guidelines and everything that he does as a lender to help make sure that you are ready and that you qualify to purchase a home. He and his team of processing and underwriting make sure that you're meeting FHA, VA, USDA, and conventional loan guidelines. He then is going to say, okay, we have the Maryland Mortgage Program. Generally, borrowers come to utilize our program because they need down payment and closing cost assistance. This is our website. It's a public website. Anyone can come on this website. It's www.mmp, which stands for Maryland Mortgage Program, .maryland, MARYLAND.gov. And when you're on this home page, you can scroll over to interest rates. These are all of the products that we have available for the lenders to choose. You would click on the printable rate sheet. Now, anyone can come on the website, but it's definitely a tool for the lenders and the agents. All right, let's minimize this so everyone can see. When the lender determines that you're eligible, they have two columns of a rate sheet to choose from. In order to be eligible for the Maryland Mortgage Program, there are 6 guidelines that they're going to ask you to make sure you qualify for. Are you a first-time home buyer? Well, you only have to meet one of the guidelines. A, never owned a home anywhere in the world at the time of this closing. Or B, let's say you did own a home, but you haven't owned it or had any interest in it in the last 3 years. So maybe you were a homeowner, but maybe you got divorced or maybe you sold it and you were renting or you moved back with family members and it's been 3 years and now you would like to purchase another home. We would consider you to be a first-time home buyer. Or if you are purchasing in a targeted area, the lender comes to the website and there's a mapper that they pull up and they're going to put the property address in that you're interested in looking at to purchase. And if the property says it's in a targeted area, you're a first-time home buyer. Targeted areas are areas throughout the state of Maryland that they zone to help revitalize those communities. So there are certain areas, and they're very nice communities, but it's just if it's zone targeted, we're going to consider you a first-time home buyer. So your lender will let you know. If you're a veteran, and you want to use your VA exemption certificate along with your DD 214 with us to apply for the Maryland Mortgage Program, we'll consider you a first time home buyer. So your lender will ask you those questions to figure out if you're a first time home buyer or not. If you're not a first time home buyer, then they can use these products called the Flex. They still have to make sure that you don't exceed our household income, our asset guidelines, showing completion of homebuyer education, and our DTI and our credit score. But if you're not a first time home buyer, as long as you don't own anything anywhere in the world at the time of this closing, and you are purchasing this house to be your primary residence, they could select any of the products that are on the Flex side. But most of the time, you are a first time home buyer and you may not even realize it, but that's where the lender determines that you are. When they determine you're a first time home buyer, then they look and say, okay, let's make sure that you're not exceeding the Maryland Mortgage Program household income limits. They're going to ask you not only who is on the loan, but who's living in the home. And you're going to tell them, oh, I have an adult child. They're 18 years or older. Well, if they have a source of income and they're 18 years or older and they're going to live in this home with you, we're going to ask for proof of their income. If you have an older family member that's living with you and maybe they don't have a job, but they have Social Security or SSI, we're going to ask for their income. So here's our income limit chart. And it breaks down under income and it tells you if you're buying in a particular city or county. And let's see, it's taking us time. So let's say you're buying in Baltimore County. And it's going to ask, are one or two people living in the household? And if it's not in a targeted area, non-targeted, then you can't exceed to have more than 136,529 of household income. If you have it in a targeted area, then you're definitely considered a first-time home buyer and you can bring more money in the household. So your lender will ask not only who's on the loan, but who's living in the home to make sure that you don't exceed our household income limit. Then you're going to ask, well, do you have a lot of money? Well, most of the borrowers that come to us don't have a lot of money. So we have asset guidelines. You can't have more than 20% of the sales price of liquid assets. Liquid assets are like your checking, your savings, CD, stocks, bonds, a gift. If you were getting a gift from someone or a family member, or you were selling a home that you had and you received proceeds from the sale of a home. So we look at that. Now, if you have a whole lot of money in your 401 or retirement, we don't count that against you. We just look at your liquid because we want to make sure if you have a lot of money, why are you coming to the state to borrow money? But if you don't, and you don't exceed our asset guidelines, then you're fine. Then we have homebuyer education. All the borrowers have to take a class. It's approved by HUD, Fannie, or Freddie, or even as Jim mentioned, Freddie Mac. And the classes can be taken with any of our local HUD approved housing counseling agencies or a national industry standard agency. And your lender will advise you as to where you can take them at any local agency. But you could also do it in your pajamas with a cup of coffee. You can take the classes online. After you complete the classes, however you decide to take them, you'll get a certificate. The certificate will have your name on it and it will have an expiration date. The certificate is valid for 1 year. Any household members don't have to take it, only the borrowers. A co-borrower is included as well. And then the lender will also share with you that we have a credit score requirement as well as a debt to income. So if you're a borrower and you say, I know what my credit score is, then just remember that in order to qualify for the Maryland Mortgage Program, your credit score has to be at 640 or higher. All right? If you have a credit score at a 680, that's great. But as long as you're at a 640 or higher, you're good. And the debt to income ratio is for conventional 640 at a 50% DTI. Or if you're doing FHA via USDA, the lender will know if you're between a 640 and a 679, you can be at a debt to income ratio of 45. But if your credit score is a little higher, you can be at a 680 and your DTI can go up to 50%. That overall sounds so simple, doesn't it? And when you reach out to the lender, Spencer, and say, hey, I've learned a lot of information at tonight's training, and I want to make sure that I am tapping into all the resources of any funds that are available to me, then definitely mention that you need some assistance for down payment and or closing cost, and definitely tell your lender and the agent that you want seller help, and also tell the lender that you want to participate in not only the state of Maryland program, but you can also stack it with other funding from a city or county program. So the Maryland mortgage program, you do not apply directly with us. You apply directly with the approved lender. They will determine that you meet our guidelines. They will send your file into our state agency for us to review that you do meet first time home buyer. You don't exceed our household income. You don't exceed our asset requirements. You've completed home buyer education and you issued a copy of your certificate. And the credit report will show that your credit report is at a 640 or above, and they'll calculate your DTI. We want to make sure that you are aware of all the programs that are available to you during your journey of purchasing a home. So definitely, you've got some great people on this call. You're going to connect with a real estate agent. You're going to make sure that you have that pre-approval with that lender. And you are going to make sure that the lender is helping you tap in to all the money, all the resources that are out there so that you are not, as Jim mentioned, house poor. The dad said, hey, you got to have some money for a rainy day. So we want to make sure that you have the ability to purchase a home, but you also have that rainy day fund because you're buying a house and there could be things that, again, additional expenses. I want to thank you so much for participating on this call. Please utilize all the resources that you have so that you know, hey, I don't have enough money saved. I can't buy a house, but I've demonstrated the ability to pay rent and I have a good credit score, but I don't have enough money to purchase a house. Well, you know what? When people use the Maryland Mortgage Program, some of these lenders are so skilled that they're able to say, hey, we got some seller help with the agent. We got money from the Maryland Mortgage Program. We got money from a city or county program. We got money from FHLB, as Spencer indicated. And I'm telling you, we have seen borrowers come to closing and they didn't even have to bring their checkbook, their pocketbook, their wallet. So don't not pursue your dream of purchasing a home because you don't feel like you have enough money saved. Educate yourself with all the programs that are out there and rely on these resources to help you. Again, I'm Catherine Kramer Dale. I'm with the State of Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development, and I'm here to educate you about the Maryland Mortgage Program down payment assistance. Thank you so much and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you so much, Catherine. We do have a few questions coming through for our panelists. The first one that we want to get to, can someone explain what real estate taxes are?
You're muted, Shanetta.
Awesome. I was like, who wants to take this one? There are definitely going to be your real estate taxes, and everybody has a different opinion about real estate taxes. But the real estate taxes are going to be what your property is going to be assessed at. What's the value of that? And the money that you pay for your taxes are going to be invested back into your community. So your taxes are going to be very different. You're going to be looking at those real estate taxes when you're looking for your home because it can make a difference on whether or not you can go to closing or not. That would be the simplest way to explain it. But your real estate tax is something that you're going to pay each and every year. Some areas you're going to pay it twice a year. You're going to prepay it, but you're going to make sure you understand the details of that with your loan officer when you're going through this process. Anybody want to add to that?
Yeah, absolutely. So those property taxes, we'll look at that when we're tailoring that offer for you, saying, hey, well, I want to buy 123 Fake Street. We'll pull that tax bill and we'll include that in the monthly figure. Most mortgages include escrow. Escrow is simply that those monies are being set aside in a special purpose account to pay that bill. So when you pay your mortgage of, let's say, 2 grand, 200 bucks of that is going to the taxes. You'll still get the bill in the mail, but you don't have to write a check. Money's already been set aside. And again, those monies are reinvested in your local community.
Wonderful. Thank you all both so much.
Yeah.
The next question we have is in terms of sellers, to verify a seller is actually or legitimately owns a home I may be interested in, is there a way for me to check or a website to go to? Is this information public?
It is public in a way, but you're going to get title work, right? So the title, there is going to be a title company that verifies that the seller legally owns the property before you sign anything that's going to make you buy that home. The title company's entire purpose is to vet the seller that they legally own the property. And there's even title insurance that you're going to get to verify that there was no mistakes or errors or omissions. But the state of Maryland, here we have wonderful online land records. So you can certainly pull up the what's called SDAT or State Department of Assessment and Taxation, punch in the address, and it'll tell you who the owner of record is. Now it's usually up to date, but it's about 6 to 8 weeks behind typically, depending on the county and city. But that's a great way you can easily check. And of course, we want to make sure that you're buying from the person who legally owns it. So I'll let the agent touch on that as well.
Yes, indeed. So a lot of people say, why do we need title insurance? Because you do. People have
Yes,
lost
you do.
homes. I'm going to say this again. Why do we need title insurance? Because you really do. People have literally lost homes because they didn't have it. And so the title insurance covers you. So, you have different types of your title insurance, and that is something that is very, very much necessary. For me, in my book, it's mandatory. I don't want anybody to come back and say, hey, this is my house. And I've been living here now for 5 or 6 years. And then somebody's like, well, you're in my home. So the title insurance is going to cover you for anything that's going on during that period in which that title insurance was established for your property. So please make sure you get it. And then your agent that you're working with, they can always look at that with the actual title company in advance. So typically, an agent, if we get a listing, we're going to check with our representatives to make sure that that seller legally owns the home before we actually even list it. So those are things that we're doing before you're actually sometimes seeing it in the public.
Wonderful. Thank you. All right. Do I need to go through the approved MMP lender to get through the education and certification process? I completed ACDS intro class over a month ago and turned in all the required documents, but I have not received any additional information.
Yeah, so I mean, either Spencer and I can answer that, but yes, I mean, you have to go through the Maryland Mortgage Program to apply for a Maryland Mortgage Program loan. The different classes that are available throughout the state of Maryland, like if you're referring to Anne Arundel County Department, that certificate is fine as long as it's HUD approved, which most of them are because we deal with all of the in every city or county there is housing counseling agencies. So you've gone to a housing counseling agency, you know you're taking the course from a certified agency, that's fine. When you're working with a lender, show them the certificate. They'll verify that it in fact is still valid and you should be fine. When you say put in all your paperwork and you haven't heard anything, I'm not quite sure. Are you saying you put in your paperwork with Anne Arundel County to find out about programs that they offer, or are you indicating that you are working with a Maryland Mortgage Program lender?
That's a good question. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Tar Miss Hampton, you want to, if you want to type in, but yes, if you have an ACDS certificate for home buyer education, you're fine. But you're going to want to then go to an approved lender like Spencer, show them the certificate, and start moving forward to apply for any programs, whether it be the state of Maryland, as well as any city or county programs. Is that pretty much good, Spencer?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm pulling up the question as well. You do have to use an approved MMP lender to use an MMP loan.
Yeah.
MMP isn't lending money directly, right? That's what the lenders are for. And analogous to Freddie Mac, they don't actually lend money, they give us programs that we use as lenders. ACDS is a fantastic program. I would recommend following up with your ACDS housing counselor. They are not the fastest, and even their website says, hey, be prepared. They're not the fastest. So I would definitely follow up with them. But the short answer is yes, to that fourth part of your question.
Thank you. All right, last question currently. Is there a way to know in advance if property taxes will increase significantly each year?
Oh, I think I would even like to know that as a property owner.
I think I could probably answer that one.
If we had a magic ball, woo!
Right?
Yes.
Yes, I have my crystal ball right here on my shelf. No, so there's not a way to know exactly what it's going to increase to, but it will certainly increase. There are a handful of exemptions to that. If you're a 100% disabled veteran, those don't go up. There's elderly tax credits as well. But in general, if it is your first home or if it's your owner occupied home, you can file an exemption request and that will limit the increase to 10% per year. We recommend all of our clients do it. They will not process it until the deed's recorded, which is typically 6 to 8 weeks after closing. But definitely get that done. It will protect you from those radical increases, which you won't typically see. But still definitely do that to insulate you from that. Again, that limits it to 10%. Um, that's how I
And
would,
Spencer,
yeah,
so that they know if they're working with a lender or they're looking up more information about you're referring to the homestead tax credit, correct?
correct.
Yes. So if you need more information, Mary, we should have information on MarylandHomeownership.com. But the homestead tax credit, if you're looking for more information about that, is what you're going to Google and what you're going to look up on MarylandHomeownership.com.
Yep, and that's again through that same company that or the same website that does the property records, SDAT, SDAT.
All right. Another question came through. Is there anything a new homeowner can do to keep another party from taking their home? For example, I'm told some people are able to go file a document with the court that allows them to claim ownership of someone else's home. I don't call which state, maybe New York. Uh, but it may be called a quit claim deed or something along those lines.
Yeah, quitclaim deed is a legal document that's used to add or remove someone from title. However, one, that person's committing fraud if they're just doing it willy-nilly. Uh, Felony, don't do it, obviously. But two, on a quitclaim deed or QCD, the other parties have to sign it and it has to be notarized. So if, just to pick on Jackie, I know you just bought this home. I can't sign a QCD. Congratulations, by the way. I can't sign a quitclaim deed adding myself and removing Jackie from her house unless Jackie one signs off on it and it's notarized and I pay the transfer taxes on it and I have it recorded. That's not going to happen realistically. Um, yeah, the QC does exist, but that's not something you're going to actually see in reality unless someone is extremely good at fraud.
They
And
were
if they
extremely,
are,
that's
then it's
exactly what
fraud,
she's
and
talking about,
obviously
Spencer.
you get protected.
She's talking about that case in New York. There was a big case. They just had a big article in the paper about an
Yeah.
attorney that was convicted for
Yeah. Oh,
stealing
he's going to
multiple
jail, like
properties. Yeah, he's
jail.
going to jail. He's going to jail,
Yeah.
jail. So don't, they also tell you to check, you can always check your title records. You want to check the deeds. You can check those things on a regular basis to make sure there are no changes. But you also have your title insurance again. We're going to talk about that title insurance again.
Yes.
So I'm going back to that title insurance to make sure that you're covered. So and you have conversations. People are going to scam. People are going to be people, unfortunately. But you have to make sure that you are educated again and make sure you reach out to educated individuals that can lead you and help you and guide you along the way and sign your name to nothing unless you have had professional guidance from an attorney and or a legal professional.
Yep. Absolutely. When in doubt, don't sign.
And don't sign in distress.
Yes.
Wonderful. We've made it through all of our questions. If anything comes up, attendees, that you think of in the next 5 minutes or after the webinar, you will have the chance to email us after this with any relevant questions. Um, but we want to say thank you for your attendance. And as a reminder, our next Your Home Buying Keys webinar will be coming up in August. It is August 21st, if I am remembering correctly, it's different next month. We're doing the third Thursday of the month. Please share that date with anyone who you think would benefit from this information or soon to be home buyer in Maryland. Be sure to check out MarylandHomeownership.com for more resources and information on home ownership. We wish you all the success in your journey. And if you have questions, please email webinar@mdrealtor.org. In the email that you will receive from me tomorrow morning, you will also get a chance to submit feedback on this webinar in a survey, and we would love to hear from you about what you learned, what was really great, and ways we might be able to improve this to help other future Maryland homeowners. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening, everyone.
Bye,
Thanks,
everyone.
everyone.
Bye, everyone.